Welcome back to Unaware Commentary, the place for Pokemon TCG battle narration that doesn't care about the stats.
Hello and welcome to Pokemon Walk and Talk, the inconsistent upload schedule that does not normally have a script, where I will talk Pokemon while I'm on my walk. Being that this is the first episode of this series, there will be a scripted portion right here for you, but it will often be an unscripted series. This will briefly explain the idea behind this side project. Idea number one, I need to go walking more regularly. So if I have a project and a reason to go walking, I will go walking more often. Reason two, this is a place to put all of the ideas that circle around in the Pokemaniac that is behind Unaware Commentary. Today's episode, I will be reviewing my most recent casual locals tournament where I played Beedrill EX Dunsparce, and the games that I play, as well as there will be some screen recorded Beedrill EX gameplay that will likely play under this podcast with some ambient music to keep everyone engaged. Well, here we are, episode 1, Pokemon Walk and Talk. So Beedrill EX. I think Beedrill EX is a very interesting deck in the Chaos Rising format, being that it has the Rumbling Bees attack, does 110 damage, times the number of Beedrill and Beedrill EX in play. There is not a standard legal Beedrill, but it could be an interesting single prize that finds its way into the format. I do think the deck is really interesting, being that it centers around a super broken card in Force of Vitality. Force of Vitality, the stadium card that allows for grass Pokemon, as long as it is not the player's first turn, to evolve up immediately, meaning that if you have a part of the Beedrill EX line, like a Weedle in hand or on the bench, and you are able to bug catching set and find yourself a Kakuna and a Beedrill EX, well, there you go. You just get to stack that Beedrill into play. You're also able to find grass energy off of bug catching set. So it functions as kind of a Pokemon search card to be able to find those Pokemon, as well as a means of finding energy for the deck to be able to attack, as Rumbling Bees does just attack for a single energy. The high damage output of being able to hit 330 with 3 Beedrills in play, or 440 with all 4 Beedrills in play, is really interesting, being that this deck is dependent on having all of the right pieces available to it. I do play a redeemable ticket in the deck, and that initial deck search is extra important. So that's a valuable resource, but Beedrill EX, Force of Vitality, all of those cards don't draw anything, so we are playing the Dunsparce engine, so we do have to look out for things like Team Rocket's Watchtower. Luckily, most decks that are playing Watchtower are only playing the one, so pretty easy to bump off, being that we are on all 4 Force of Vitalities. Being that's the backbone of the deck, we really do need to have that on the battlefield available to us. So it is a card that we are on 4 of. I am choosing to play the 60 HP Dunsparce, so that if you start it, you are able to retreat into the kind of secondary attacker in the deck. Very valuable in the one prize options, and that is the Fan Rotom. You're going to be able to want to go get Fan Rotom either with a Buddy Poffin or a Ultra Ball early in the game, because it is able to use that Fan Call ability on your first turn. So if you are forced to go second, you can punish your opponent in a lot of matchups where you can go get the Fan Rotom Fan Call for all of your Dunsparce out of the deck. Gives you that initial deck searches, right? If we're able to go get it, whether we start it and we're able to do that initial deck search, or we go get it with a Buddy Poffin, we're able to grab something like a Weedle and the Fan Rotom, utilize Fan Call, go grab the 3 Dunsparce. Can't grab the Dunsparce, it's a little bit too big with its HP stat, but we are able to grab the 3 Dunsparce out of the deck. We are just on a 3-3. I know that you can potentially go down to 3-2, but that would be if I was able to add the Relor Ravska line into the deck. I would remove a Shaman and a Dunsparce. It does limit the Dunsparce, but we do have the redeemable ticket if we do happen to prize one of them, and because of the runaway draw being able to go into the deck and the ability for Dunsparce to be able to search up with something like Pokepad or Ultra Ball. It's not a huge deal if we only end up with one that we're rotating in and out of play, being that as the Dunsparce is going to the deck, they can be fetched back out with Buddy Poffin. If you're not familiar with this particular card draw engine, it gets a little bit repetitive. There's a lot of shuffling involved, which is the one thing that kind of bears me away from it some of the time, but it is very, very effective, sees a lot of cards, and is easily able to be continuously put on board. Being that I am nervous about, Dragapults being able to snipe down the Dunsparces that only have 60 HP and the Weedles that only have 50 HP, it is probably better to play a Rabska line. This deck in particular does have a tough matchup into Crustle. Like I said, maybe they print us a good non-rule box Beedrill that will still be able to push up the damage of Rumbling Bees, and we'll be able to play a split of some kind, or maybe even just keep all 4 Beedrill EX, as it's going to probably be the primary attacker, and then play an additional Beedrill, even though you wouldn't be able to get 5 in play just due to the number of Weedles, unless they make like a grass version of like a Grimsley's move, something sneaky with like Gardenia. That'd be really interesting as a means to sneak an additional 1 in play, be able to do 550 with Rumbling Bees, but that's a fantasy land. So as we have discussed, those are all of the kind of major parts of the deck. It is playing 5 grass energy. So that's the list that we ended up taking into the tournament. Our round 1, we paired into a very unique deck that is played by one of our local players. It'll actually get to be spotlighted on the channel in a coming up gameplay. It is a Chandelure Mega Frostless deck. So Chandelure, a fire type. In the current iteration of it, is a ghost fire type. So could have that psychic iteration into the TCG, but it is just going to be that fire type. It has an alluring light, which causes both players to draw a card into their hand, and the Mind Ruler attack that does 30 times the number of cards in your hand. Unfortunately, the Beedrill EX deck does a decent job of keeping cards in hand due to the Dunsparce engine and having to dig real hard to find the engine pieces that we're looking for, trying to find those bug catching sets, trying to find the Kakunas, trying to find the Beedrills. So though I tried my best to push through that fire weakness and get that hand as low as possible, I was not able to make it through that matchup. Did have some interesting plays near the end with special red card, being able to lower down the attack of some of those Chandelures, or the attack potential of the Chandelures, or even the Mega Frostless did come down to a Tatsugiri finding a Lilies, and Ultra Ball finding the Mega Frostless, an attachment of the water energy, and just a big knockout on my Beedrill EX at the end of the game. Great plays by the player, was a good time. I wasn't able to boss around the legacy energy that's played in that deck, so a single prize paired with a 3-prizer that can force you to take like up to 7, 8 prizes, depending on how they string together their attackers. It's a very interesting deck, very reliant kind of on that rare candy, but Litwick and Lampet, I believe, can both knock out Badoo. So I think Frillish and Jellicent maybe could be a problem for that deck, but not Pokemon that are seeing a ton of play right now. Round 2 went up against a Garchomp deck, a very nice junior player that was at our league, and was a tough matchup. I think he had saw me playing down table, and when I sat down, he was like, well, I really don't want to play this matchup. And I tried to kind of speak positively to him, because if any of you have been around, sometimes you just brick. So the possibility of me starting Weedle and pass, him setting up a Gibble, turning it into a Gabite, getting a couple Roserade into play, and Dragon slicing its way through my little bugs and my Dunsparces were a very, very real possibility. Unfortunately, not the way it's going to work out for that player. We did get some Beedrill EXs into play, and that grass weakness did play a role, as I only really needed to keep 2 Beedrill in play and continue to draw cards. But a great match and a great opportunity to talk with a player who is growing as a Garchomp player. I do think Garchomp is in a unique place in the current meta. A lot of grass around, but that Pult matchup is supposed to be above average. Haven't played it enough myself, but it's supposed to be a decent matchup. Round 3 played Dragapult. So I was on Shaman and not on the Rapska for this one. So Phantom Dive did eat me up. The Beedrill matchup is supposed to be relatively positive, but when you're playing best of 1, sometimes you just get what you get. We took some interesting knockouts with the Fan Rotom. We ended up going back and forth. There's a Badoo in my Beedrill EX list as well. I feel like as I'm going through this, I'm going to end up naming every card just not the exact counts. I'll have to throw it up at some point in the video for kind of viewing purposes. Hopefully we'll put it at the end if you're interested in seeing the Beedrill EX deck at the end of kind of that gameplay segment. But the player and I ended up doing each other back and forth, trying to boss his orders around the other one, item locking us. Unfortunately, Dragapult is just so good at getting those draw cloaks in play early that even just to turn away from item lock, get a couple of draw cloaks in play, get some energies attached. Did have to utilize energies to get Dreepies out of the active to continue to item lock me, being that I really just needed the opportunity to Ultra Ball for a Meowth EX, being that we are on one Meowth EX in the Beedrill deck, and being able to go get a Lily's Determination, get a cleaner hand, get a Force of Vitality in play, maybe get some bees up, being that you gotta have 3 bees in play against Dragapult. And so if I'm just sitting there watching my Weedles eat Phantom damage counters, not gonna be a good time. So we did not win that game. So now we are 1-2. Going into round 4, gonna be the final round. Sat down against a seniors player who is playing Mega Greninja, Mega Frostlass, Dusk Noir. And this game was tight. The young woman played a great game utilizing Mirage Barrage to be able to take knockouts, using Shinobi Blade to be able to set up plays, just able to use Dusclops and Dusknoir really effectively. Was not able to find the Mega Frostlass. Seemed like maybe we were lacking a little bit of a draw engine. Did find out later that it was a Grand Tree build, as we did see a Grand Tree come into play that was bumped by the Force of Vitality. So trading forests back and forth with that player, just trying to keep a stadium in play. Unfortunately, Grand Tree just going to be a one-up for that player, so not able to really do the Stadium War thing very well with that particular card. You just get the one, so she was able to utilize it to get a Terra Greninja in EX into play, but was not quite able to get her to the finish line. What was a great game, had a great time. I do like the Beedrill EX deck. I am of the opinion that we exist in a 2 red card, 2 Meowth format, just that, you know, that early ability to go grab Meowth to get you out of a terrible hand, to make Ultra Ball the best card in your deck in the early game and in the late game. I know there's a lot of concern to start it, but in a deck specifically like Beedrill, where you're playing so many potential starters that are good to great in the Fan Rotom, the Weedles, being that we have 4 Weedles, the Fan Rotom, 3 Free Retreat Dunsparce. Starting Shaman would be bad. Starting Rellor, should it become a Rellor deck, would be bad. But I think finding room for that second Meowth might be good. Potential that we would need to see a pivoting card potentially put into the deck. Something like maybe an Air Balloon or a Switch. If we did put the second Meowth in, but just like I said, trying to make Ultra Ball the best card it can be in the early game, to be able to go get Lily's Determination, see those 8 cards, be able to get that full setup, see those additional Buddy Buddy Poffins as early as possible on turn 2, especially if we're being forced to go second and we're not going to be able to take that initial turn to be able to get all of our basics in play, and then be able to utilize Force of Vitality on our second turn right away. Or being that we're going second, we won't be able to utilize Force of Vitality right away. So potentially a second Meowth going to need to find its way into the deck. I do believe that 2 red card is necessary because of the popularity of decks like Alakazam, as well as sometimes you just red card the opposing player into no hand and they have nothing. You take a knockout and you're able to work their way down, or because you have Badoo, doing something like special red card, boss's orders, Badoo can get you a turn, very similar to what Dragapult does, oddly enough. So you may be able to take the stall Dragapult plan in Beedrill EX. So I am finishing up my walk here. Thank you for tuning in to the first episode of Pokemon Walk and Talk. That was a review of the local tournament. Again, I went 2-2, had some close, fun games. I got to hang out with some great people, record some content for the channel that you'll see going up in the next couple of weeks. I'll probably record these more often, as they, again, are a great excuse to get me out and walking in the morning and just able to share some thoughts with you. If you have any suggestions of topics that you may want to hear my ramblings or my opinions about, I am constantly thinking about the game, talking about the game with friends, or berating lovingly berating my spouse with different Pokemon ideas and stuff that are going through my head. This will not decrease the amount of gameplay videos that I'm trying to get out. It's just an extra opportunity for me to get some exercise, talk some Pokemon with y'all. Sound off in the comment section if you have any ideas about the Beedrill EX deck, thoughts on the meta, thoughts on things that you may want me to talk about in future episodes, as these are just going to be one at a time because I'm not going on multiple walks a day at the moment. Wishing you all the best. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and we'll see you in a future episode. Bye-bye. We'll catch you next time, trainers.